Welcome to 44 and 1. GVizzle, Tempest, like, subscribe, comment, tell your friends, tell your family, send up smoke signals, whatever you need to do.
Apparently there's something called a notification bell, and then if they hit that, then stuff happens. All I know is that other YouTubers keep telling me to do it on their channels. I don't know what it does, because I don't click it.
We should probably click one before we tell other people to click it, just in case it's a self-destruct button.
Yeah. Maybe we need to be better users of social media first.
Nah. Just rumors.
Yeah.
Today we're going back to our roots, essentially. We started with Chuck Klosterman's 50 questions for insane conversations.
We don't have those.
I have not read these, but I'm going to give you the option to choose. Do you want to choose by title or by number? Like if I say pick a number between 1 and 5, or do you want to know what they're called?
Let's know what they're called. And then people can lament me over my poor choices.
It's not your mother listening. The
Okay.
The freewheeling architect, mystical clay, hired assassin, artistic telekinesis.
Hired assassin. I feel bloodthirsty today.
You were a hired assassin. It was not your lifelong dream to become a hitman, but that is the vocation/destiny that has been forced upon you. Killing these strangers bothers you deeply. Very often you are haunted by vivid dreams involving your victims. But you've also become somewhat accustomed to the experience. You have successfully murdered 10 people over the past 2 years. Your fee is $10,000 per murder. Knowing your reputation for ruthless efficiency, a member of the criminal underworld asks you to murder his enemy, who is also a known criminal. I really hate this guy, says your prospective employer. He has done terrible things to someone I love, so I want you to kill him. But I don't want you to simply assassinate him. I want you to make him pay. I want you to kill him in the most vicious, sinister way you can imagine. Be creative and merciless, and if you do this, I will pay you 25 times your normal fee.
Wow.
Assuming you are already a professional killer who lives outside of society's rules, would you accept these new conditions? And if so, how would you commit the murder?
Well, yeah, I mean, if I'm in that life already, this is the dream job, isn't it? Like, this is the big time.
But it bothers you deeply. And it bothers you deeply. You're haunted by vivid dreams, but you've also become accustomed to it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
like having back pain, you know it's there, but you live with it.
Yeah, exactly. But like, the thing is, though, if you're wanting yourself to be an expert in any field, there is things in any field that irritate you or upset you or that you have problems with. And
so I'm sorry. The guy at work who clips his nails at his desk and having to murder somebody.
Well, that bloke, I would probably murder that guy. So
I did work with someone who did that.
Oh, that's grim. But like, if you've seen Office Space, go do the TPS reports.
So you'll kill him with a stapler.
Yeah. Death of 1,000 staples. Yeah, I just think that if you want to be an expert in a field, whatever it is, and you're sort of freelancing, this kind of job sounds like the big time to make your name for yourself, to really get into the Premier Leagues of whatever your profession is.
It sounds like you already are, though, because you do have a reputation for ruthless efficiency.
Yeah, but loads of people have reputations for, say, being a good actor, but they've not yet got that big film. So, like, this is the breakthrough role. This is the big contract to really...
So this is Leonardo DiCaprio finally winning his Oscar.
Yeah, exactly. And all I've got to do is deliver on it. And
in the most vicious and sinister way, creative and merciless, which you already have. I mean, ruthless efficiency and mercilessness kind of go hand in hand. So
yeah,
that's
well, I'm known for efficiency, which means, like, to me, that suggests I'm good at killing people without collateral damage and without getting caught.
10 people in 2 years, which $10,000 per murder, that means $50,000 a year. That's not an amazing set. Like, I really would have thought that.
Well, that's why this job's so important.
would be more lucrative? Because you got to imagine, like, that's
Yeah.
got to be over and above expenses because there's probably travel involved, lunch,
Yeah.
staking out, right? Like, there's more than just, so that's got to be over and above expenses. $10,000 plus expenses would be my rate.
If you're trying to get to the top of your level, like, and be the best in the game, you know, like, you have to do those make work jobs first, the 10 grand a pop, 10 grand
That's true.
ahead.
You don't start at 50 grand ahead.
Yeah, you got to show people that you're good at it. And so this is like, I've been putting the work in, I've been doing my time, you know, top 50% podcast in in the world.
So this is a game changer then.
Yeah.
It's a game changing job.
This is going to put me up into the Joe Rogan levels of podcasting.
So you would take the job then?
Yeah.
Okay. And how would you commit the murder?
You see, the thing is, right, with my history as a mechanical engineer, you kind of like, this is one of the things that Scott, you got right in Star Trek, is you want it to look like you're a miracle worker without performing miracles. So I would probably want to do something where I give the appearance of real pain and suffering without actually acting it out. And like, how much can I get away with making it look like the guy suffered without actually making him suffer? So
because it doesn't. That's an interesting perspective on it, because it says be creative and merciless, and he wants you to do these things, but at nowhere on the card does it say what kind of proof is required other than this person has passed.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you could theoretically just poison them, have them go in their sleep, and then just do a bunch of posthumous shit so that it looks like they were tortured.
There was a guy, I don't know when this happened or who it was, but he'd done some double dealings with one of the drug cartels, like he was one of the delivery drivers or something, and he did stuff with the police and then got found out by the cartel. They fished his body out of the content warning here. This is really gross. Like, when you actually think about this will make you want to vomit. All right, they fished his body out, and then when they did the autopsy, they found a gallon of semen from loads of different people in his stomach. Yeah.
Wouldn't the stomach have digested that? Like, that doesn't sound...
I think it's because he died shortly afterwards, and there was just evidence of this gallon of semen in his stomach.
Have you ever heard of Richard Kuklinski?
No.
He was called the Iceman, and he was like a pretty prolific and brutal hitman. And I do think he did a lot of work for the mob, and he had like kind of rules. I think he had rules against women and children, but I could just be making that up. So I remember reading the book. Actually, I think Michael Shannon plays him in a movie, and he's a phenomenal actor. But he was also known for his ruthless efficiency and being merciless, where he once like tied someone to content warning, tied someone to a chair and just put them in a room with a bunch of hungry rats.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a brutally painful way to go.
That is one of the old things they used to do, the torture methods. Back in the 1600s or whatever, is they'd get like a metal bin or canister or something, and then put some rats in it and stick it over your belly, and then they heat up the bottom of it, and then the rats would burrow through you.
I have heard that. I'd go old school with like a tar and feathering or a drawn and quartered. I think that would be...
There's so many worse things. Like the Spanish Inquisition had another thing where...
But drawn and quartered, like that...
Oh, that was bad, yeah. But usually died before the end. And like, it's like you go into shock and stuff. So like the so-called best interrogators and torturers would draw it out as much as possible and keep you alive for days and weeks and months.
Oh my gosh, I just watched a movie. My husband and I just watched a movie, and like the guy that they would bring in who would break everybody would just do so by talking to you and like not even saying anything nefarious. Right? It wasn't like Hannibal Lecter making Miggs bite off his own tongue, but he would just kind of like get to like your core either insecurity or desire, and then make you like want to tell him. I'll have to remember what movie it was. It was good.
That would work on some people. There are definitely people out there that are that suggestible. Like, it's bizarre how, like, a certain section of the population, probably about 20% of people, maybe, is a pulling out my ass figure, that are that suggestible and manipulatable that they would respond to that.
I'm pretty sure I would be like TJ Miller in Deadpool, where as soon as even someone just like looked at me too hard, I'd be like, I'm gonna tell you everything you want to know.
Yeah, yeah.
You're gonna get it out of me eventually. What could someone use against you? Like no physical pain to you, but what could they threaten that would make you like spill the beans?
I'm not gonna put that out there.
How many enemies do you have that you think are watching this?
Exactly.
Who's taking notes? If someone threatened my dogs, that would be it. I'd go John Wick.
Yeah. But that's more detrimental to them though. Like, there are certain things that, like, if they use them against me, then as soon as I'm not incarcerated in wherever I am, then they will pay the price for having done that.
But they probably think they're clever enough to not, right? It's like in John Wick, I think it was like the second or third one, like guys are fangirling over him but still want to fight him. It's like, you know who he is, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But one of the torture methods the Spanish Inquisition would use, which I think in some ways is probably better than hang drawing and quartering, because it's more long and drawn out. You can make it last as long as you want. So they'd have like a contraption that was shaped like a pyramid, and they'd tie up your arms and your feet and lower you onto it over your anus.
Yes, you've told me about that one before.
Have I? I don't remember that.
Yeah.
That sounds like something I'd tell you, yeah.
But you could, that one could be just as long and drawn out as the drawing and quartering, because you could just do it slowly, right? But like the machine in The Princess Bride, you could do 1 year at a time, or when he cranked it up to 50.
But like, the thing is, though, with drawing and quartering, there's only so far you can go with it at a time. But like with, say, the Chinese thing of death of 1,000 cuts, like, it's literally 1,000 little cuts all over your body, and then you gradually bleed to death. So, and I think some of these things you could give the appearance of that having happened with a little bit of ingenuity.
I think you can as well. But also, one of the things you have a reputation for is ruthless efficiency. So whatever we do can't be super long, drawn out.
Well, he seems to want something that's outside of my preferred MO and skill set.
Vicious and sinister.
Yeah, which isn't what I'm known for. I'm known for efficiency.
Ruthless efficiency.
And so he wants me to be sadistic for him, which is why he's paying me so much. So this is my chance to show that I'm adaptable. Like, if you think in terms of work, this is when the executive manager has taken a shine to you and you have a chance to show your adaptability and your leadership skills.
Okay, so now let's ask another question. Would you want to? Because if it already bothers you, right? Killing these strangers bothers you deeply. Very often, you are haunted by vivid dreams involving your victims. So now if you then, after this job, become known as the merciless, creative, sinister one, then yes, you'll be able to charge more, but you will also be bothered much more deeply because of the types of jobs that you'll be getting from that point forward.
Well, this is the thing I'm getting at, I think, is that I think there's probably ways of faking the sadism so that it makes it look like I've killed the person in a really sadistic way, but I can set up the scene so that I actually killed him a few hours ago in a really painless fashion, but I've made it look like he died in agony and torture.
You would have to be really good at special effects makeup, because like bleeding wouldn't occur post-mortem.
Yeah, you could fake it. Just get a bicycle pump.
That's what I'm saying. Bicycle pump. So I'm saying you'd have to be like really good at special effects and makeup.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you mean now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially if the only evidence required is like photographic evidence, then that would be it.
I'll tell you what, for $250,000, I could get very creative.
And for $250,000, like, you've already spent the last 2 years making only $50,000 on 5 deaths per year. Whereas at $250,000, like, you just do one job a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, one job a year every 2 years.
And in fact, I wouldn't have to work for 5 years if I didn't want to.
Yeah, because if you were already living all right
Yeah,
on the 50 grand.
yeah. I wouldn't have to work for 5 years, and
But people get greedy though. People when you get more, you want more.
don't work like that.
Doesn't it though?
If I could, murder somebody grotesquely for 5 years' salary, might as well, get 5 years off,
I'd probably still do it once a year.
tax free.
I'd do it once. You'd have to pay some sort of taxes. There's got to be. I just finished writing a training module on money laundering, so I got that. I got that covered. I got that part covered. For 10% of your fee, I will launder the money for you. But yeah, I think once a year, because then only in the matter of like how much does it take to retire? Take a look at like, because I already am a homeowner, invest wisely, because in Canada, I don't know what it's like in the UK, but in Canada, you are taxed more favorably on investment income than you are on earned income, which is terrible. But you are taxed more favorably on that. So if you were to make like $100,000 a year earned, you may be getting taxed 30% on that. But if you make $100,000 a year on your investments, you may only get taxed like 15-ish, 20%. So you would be making a lot more. So if you require perhaps $3 to $4 million to retire comfortably, living on the investments and the interest and dividends and whatnot earned from those investments, then $3 million would be enough to retire on. So essentially, you could do it in 3 years. If you were to do a job a quarter, $1 million a year, you could do it in 3 years, or you spread it out and it's 12 years, and then you're retired. I think I would do it in 3, maybe a trimester, so 4 years.
Yeah.
3 jobs a year, 4 years, retired at 52.
Yeah. I'm up for that. I think that's quite a good plan. And yeah. It just makes good business sense because like these people are going to die in a horrific fashion anyway. Like someone's going to
do it. It may as well be you, right?
And there was, I think I've told you about this book before by Joe Haldeman. It's called All My Sins Remembered. And it's about this guy who is basically an assassin for the state. And every time he has to do a job, they give him all this conditioning stuff so that he adopts a new persona, goes in and like basically becomes a spy, infiltrates the area, assassinates the target, comes back. But he has to remember every single little detail of it so that he can relay the mission brief. But in his own life, he's a pacifist and he doesn't want to hurt anybody. But because the state have recruited him, he has to do the job. And he remembers every single person he killed, which is probably where they got the idea for this from.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's a cool book.
That would be difficult. It's like that woman, is it I forget which, I think it's Winchester. The heir to the Winchester dynasty or fortune, I think she had dreams or something that all the people who were killed by the guns her family had made would come back and haunt her if she stopped doing something to her house. She believed that if she stopped developing the house, or that she would be murdered in the house by the spirits of the people who were killed by her guns. So the house was constantly under construction, but there were like staircases that led nowhere, doors that would lead nowhere, in an attempt to fool the ghosts of these people into like we'll put up some pictures of it. It is crazy. It's a crazy story. So yeah, she thought she needed to keep building on the house to avoid the wrath of the spirits of the people who were died by the guns.
Interesting.
It's a fascinating story. And like the house, when you see, like the house is beautiful. The house is outside, the house is beautiful. Inside it's crazy. It's a crazy shit show. But yeah, she did a lot of crazy shit to it in an attempt to fool the spirits.
That's so interesting. Like, people often say that people who are mad are really illogical. Like, oh, people with paranoid schizophrenia, there's no logic to them and stuff. It's like, no, their logic is perfectly sound. They are much more clear thinking and logical than sane people. It's just your basic assumptions about reality are wrong, but your logic is intact.
It's like the There's that, I think it's a Einstein quote or something, that like everyone is a genius in the right way, right?
Yeah,
Like if you judge a fish for not being able to climb a ladder, of course it's
yeah,
gonna think it's stupid its entire life. I know that's not the exact phrase, but it's like everybody's good at something.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm only good at psychology. That's it. I'm such an idiot. What was it we were talking about the other day? And then can't remember what it was now. And then, oh yeah, earbuds.
Oh,
And you were
I
like,
thought they were disposable.
yeah, you were, you would have been correct in your thinking if you weren't so unbelievably wrong.
I'm gonna have to start using that line more often.
Yeah.
You'd be right if you weren't painfully wrong. The Unknown Companion,
Right.
Prison Culture,
Right.
A Life in Film, Joe Sixpack, Worldwide Perfection.
I think you should select one if you haven't read them, because I selected the last one.
Prison Culture.
Hey!
Yay! A totally innocent man is sent to prison for 25 years, all for a crime he did not commit. The DNA evidence that indisputably proves his innocence does not emerge until he has completed his full sentence. During those 25 years in prison, he kills 3 other inmates, sells drugs, is tangentially involved with the rape of another prisoner, mercilessly abuses a canine police dog, and steals food from other inmates on a regular basis. However, he's never been caught doing any of these illegal acts. Upon his release from prison, he openly admits to doing all of these things. In fact, he almost brags about these activities to the media. Prison is a different culture, he explains. I did what I had to do to survive. You are the head of the penal system. You have just learned of this man's wrongful imprisonment and about all the terrible things he did while in jail. Do you release him back into society, or do you attempt to charge him with the new crimes he claims to have committed during his prison stay?
That's a tough one.
I know.
Because there's plenty of people that go to prison and don't do that stuff. And a lot of this is actually part of my defense case when I nearly went to prison, and my solicitor was like, "Yeah, just look at him." So like, he's like, "You wouldn't." Yeah, that's basically what it was. Like, look at his pretty face. He wouldn't last 10 minutes in there, and because the prison where I was based, they'd send us to Winchester prison. Okay, so and Winchester prison is the feeder prison, but my sentence was only going to be for 4 to 6 months, and so you don't leave Winchester, you're just put there. But because it's the feeder prison for the whole of the south of England, it means that you're put there with all the rapists, the murderers, the career criminals. Everybody goes there first.
Oh.
Yeah, and that was basically why we didn't go to prison. Along with the fact that like my money that I was earning while I was at university was to support my mum and my sister, and also it was my first offence, and also I wouldn't be able to finish my degree.
You beat up a pedophile.
Yeah, exactly.
It kind of reminds me a little bit. Have you ever read the book 25th Hour?
No.
They made a movie about it. It's actually really good. And it's this guy who is going to prison. I forget why he's going to prison, but he has to present himself at prison in a day, right? He's got 24 hours of freedom. So he gathers all his friends together for one big last night out. But he's like a really good looking guy. So as he's getting ready to go, he tells his friends, like, I need you to make me ugly. Like, just
Yeah.
destroy me so that I can like at least survive a little bit in prison.
Yeah, exactly. It's a thing.
Really good book.
So I think there's got to be a third option here, because neither of the other 2 options are sufficient, because he served his time.
He served time, not his time. He served time.
Yeah, he served the time that, like, for the crime that he was convicted for, like, regardless of whether he was innocent, he served the time that he was allocated. And any crime that he committed was being a victim of circumstance. But at the same time, he kind of gave himself over to it, and it clearly shows no remorse. And that was the thing for me, was that he doesn't show any remorse and he's bragging about it.
Yes. I mean, like, if we look at Andy Dufresne.
Yeah.
He also spent 20 plus years in prison. And the only violence that he perpetuated was in self-defense. Where this guy, like, he kills 3 inmates, sells drugs, tangentially involved in the rape, and mercilessly abuses a canine police dog. And then they say, like, steals food, like that really.
Yeah, that's a big thing in prison, though. So I think it's kind of like it. If he showed any remorse, then that would change my mind. But I think he needs to be watched at the very least. Like, he's clearly picked up some bad habits and unlocked something in himself.
Oh yeah, he went in innocent, but he certainly didn't come out that way. And then is he just a victim of the prison system?
But anybody that I know that's been to prison doesn't come out like that. Like, they have stories and they have things they did, but there's still a certain level of remorse. Even if they've beaten up a paedophile in prison, like, there is always like an element of remorse to it. Like, I'm not proud of it, but I did this because I was duped or XYZ. So there's always a reason for it, but it's never an excuse. And this guy just gave over his responsibility. He's abdicated responsibility.
But he's also using it as an excuse, right? Because he says, I did what I needed to do to survive. It's like, well, mercilessly abusing a canine police dog is likely not something you need to do to survive. Stealing other people's food is not something you need to survive. Participating or like planning, being involved in the rape of a prisoner, you didn't need to do that to survive. Like, maybe killing the 3 inmates was a method of self-defense. I could go with that. Selling drugs, depending on the scenario, like if you're forced to do it, otherwise you'll be grievously harmed. I could see that. But the others, no.
No, exactly. That's a guy that needs watching.
Yes. Close watching by the hired assassin from the previous. So as soon as he steps out of line, just
take him out. And that's the thing, is because plenty of people have bad things happen to them, including getting sent to prison for 25 years and they're innocent. And they don't do that. Like, there is a guy that I think he spent 12 years in prison, completely innocent. And he even got beaten up, attempted rapes and stuff like that against him. And like, he had his nose broken like 3 times and everything. And he perfectly innocent bloke, and he still didn't do all those horrible things.
Well, Robin Hurricane Carter.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. So have you ever heard the song Story of the Hurricane by Bob Dylan?
No.
It's about him. It's about him. He was a middleweight boxer, wrongly convicted, and in prison for murder. But even like, because he was a black man and he could not get a fair trial where he was, because they took him to like see the person, one of the people that he was supposedly to have attempted to murder, and they were like, that's not the guy. But they're like, nah, it is. so he was in prison. Yeah, so he was arrested, goes to jail. I believe he wrote a book, or someone wrote a book about him, and like some kid read the book and was like, this is bullshit. So then fought to get him released. So it was a couple of Canadians, because he's an American fighter. It was Canadians who felt that he was innocent, and they proceeded to have him released from prison and get him out. And then after he was released, he became a Canadian citizen. And then he became the executive director of the Association in Defense of the Wrongly Convicted. So here was an innocent man who went to prison, maintained his innocence, did not become a criminal in his time there. So even though these terrible things happened to him, and it was clear that he was innocent going in, like, people knew he was innocent, they withheld evidence, they lied on the stand, and he still was able to come out of it an intact person who then went on to help other people.
Yeah. And that is completely the difference there, isn't it? Of making excuses for your behavior, and the other one is not giving into the things just because you've had bad stuff happen to you.
Because everybody has bad stuff happen to them.
Yeah.
It's what you do with them.
Are you looking for fun new glasses that won't break the bank? Go to Zeelool.com. They have daily flash sales. You can find frames as low as $2. Prescription, non-prescription, sunglasses, they have it all. Use my promo code to save.
And I think that's where, like, with all of the empathy and compassion that I try to have for other people, when it comes to like regular people that are talking about something that's not remotely traumatizing or discriminatory or anything, I just have no chill for them, because I'm like, dude, like,
I almost forgive it when they're young. right? Like
Yeah.
when my niece was 16 and she had her heart broken for the first time, that up to that point was the worst thing that had ever happened to her.
Yeah.
Because she was 16. If she was, 36 and reacting in the same way, it'd be like, oh, really? Is that like it almost, and it's almost enviable, I guess, right? Like if what one person considers a 10 on the trauma scale is what another person, based on their circumstances, considers a 2 on their trauma scale because of what they've come from, then I almost envy the person at a 10 because it's like, oh, that's so nice for you. Like, I don't mean to sound like an asshole, but it's like, that's so nice for you that you've lived a life where this is the worst thing that's happened to you, that you haven't experienced anything worse than that. Like, you may be in for some disappointment later, but up until this point, that's the most traumatic thing. God bless, right?
That's why I find that, like, the people who like on my channel with the comments I get, I feel like the angriest, most like aggressively anti-pedophile people on there that aren't the ones that have been abused. They're the ones that know about people that have, but haven't had much contact with it. And like the people who want to work to understand it and sit and listen and consider a better way forward, they're the ones that either someone very close to them has been abused or they've been abused themselves. Like they seem to be a lot more level-headed over it.
I think it's that lack of empathy. I think a lot of it comes back down to that it's like, we started that segment last time about the fuck is wrong with you. And there's a lot in there where like there are men who are like, I don't see what the big deal is with rape. Right? They're like, it's just a few seconds. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. And it's because when you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the same people who were COVID deniers are like, oh, it's just a bad cold. Meanwhile, right, we know people who are dealing with long COVID and are still debilitated with that, or people who have died from COVID, and other people are like, it's not that big, because you're so limited in your sphere of influence or not influence, but experience, and you lack that empathy to actually believe that other people can experience things that you haven't. It's like that. You see it on social media all the time where people like that didn't happen. Like, just because it hasn't happened to you doesn't mean it hasn't happened to people. I've never been stung by a bee, but I know people who have and are deathly allergic to bee stings. Just because I've never experienced it doesn't mean it's bullshit. But there are people who just can't pull their own heads out of their asses long enough to realize that their world is not the world.
Yeah, exactly. Once my sister got stung on her cheek by a bee.
My husband had his window roll down, and he's wearing a golf shirt, and a wasp flew in through his window into his shirt. He could feel it under his shirt, so he's like beating on his chest to kill this wasp. It stung him like on or around his areola, like this dead wasp in his shirt, and like while driving, he's like trying to manage all of this.
My uncle, like the complete opposite. He was at one end of the beach in Newgale or West Wales. He's at one end of the beach, and then he walks like 2 miles to the other end, carrying a dragonfly in his shirt because it looked like it was injured or something. So he picked it up and held it in his shirt and just walked along with it for like 2 miles, and it eventually flew away.
Oh, he gave it time to rest up.
Yeah.
I think my brother once got stung. I don't know if it was a hornet or a bee on his ear, and his ear like just got massive and swelled up.
I got stung by a hornet when I was in Turkey, and like I think it was a hornet because I felt like a huge pain in my foot, lifted my foot up, and there was this black thing. It was like that big, just stuck to the bottom of my foot. I rubbed it off, and then the pain hit. But my mate's dad, he was like ex-Royal Marines and everything, really hardcore bloke. He's like, oh, we'll sort that out. And then he goes and gets his medikit, comes back, and he rubbed this weird chalky thing all over my foot, and the pain went away instantly.
What was that weird chalky thing?
I don't know. I've never known to this. Yeah.
You didn't think to ask?
Man, honestly, this guy was hardcore. He was brilliant. Once being an ex-Royal Marine, all right, and my mate obviously didn't think this through, and he decided, like, kids are playful, and he decided to jump out and scare his dad in his dad's bungalow. Yeah, no. His dad kicked him in the shins and like basically had him up against the wall in like some kind of like chokehold.
Have you ever seen those videos when people like try to sneak up on someone and like some guy in a mask jumped out of a garbage can and he just got labeled, like, just punched in the face?
Yeah. There was I saw one. It was I think a guy was doing it in his workplace, and he's dressed up like an NFL statue. And then this woman walks past. He jumps out at her, and she basically kicks the shit out of him.
Good for her.
Yeah.
That's the appropriate response. Don't scare me. I'll
Fucking bastard.
teach you.
Yeah.
On this one, we'll have to describe it for anybody who's listening. So it's a 4-panel comic, I guess, and it says people will always have something to say. So there is an old couple on a donkey, 2 people and then there's the 2 bystanders, 2 people on a donkey's back. That poor animal. Then in the next sequence, the husband is on the donkey, the wife is walking. How cruel he is letting his wife walk. And then the wife is on the donkey, the man is beside the donkey. How stupid is he by letting his wife take the ride alone? And then neither of them are walking on the donkey, and those same 2 chuckleheads, fools, don't even know how to utilize the donkey.
Yeah. And you just like, and you know, there are people that would actually be the same people, and they would answer it differently each time.
Well, yeah, it's like, I mean, we like we said, we see it in our comment sections all the time, is that somebody will fight for something that if the reverse were true, they would still be arguing on that side of it.
Yeah.
Like I think people just want, I don't know if it's people want to argue. No, it's not that people just want to argue. I think everybody wants to be a hero. So they need to fight for the people that they think can't fight for themselves, or make an argument to have that virtue signaling, because then you don't actually have to, it makes them feel good enough that they don't actually have to fulfill that and actually do anything, because they were that internet warrior who said what they needed to say and changed hearts and minds with one shitty comment at a time.
It's like a public display, isn't it? To get people like thinking well of them, and they can think well of themselves.
It's like those people who videotape themselves giving food to homeless people.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you just give them the food, you don't have to have the world patting you on the back for doing something good, and maybe it will inspire somebody else to do it, but that's likely not your intent.
Yeah, because like the effects of charity should be visible in your society, regardless of knowing who individually has given that charity. You should just be able to see the effects of it. And it doesn't matter who the individuals are.
So it reminds me of Am I the Asshole? I just read on Reddit, and this woman who really, really enjoys cooking, and she loves when people compliment her food, right? Because it makes her feel good to be able to do that. So whenever the opportunity comes up and people ask her to cook, or she offers to cook, she takes that opportunity because she enjoys doing it. And when she gets compliments, she doesn't seek out the compliments. When she gets compliments, that makes her feel good. So her friends, one of her friends' parents passed away. And so she cooked a bunch of meals to take over to this friend, which is pretty standard. Like, I don't know what it's like for you, but it's pretty standard practice that if someone passes away, other people bring them food because, you're likely not taking care of yourself, or you're not right in the headspace. So we'll take care of it.
Yeah.
So her boyfriend was giving her a hard time, saying that like she shouldn't be doing it because it's selfish, because she's just constantly seeking out validation, and she's doing this. Yeah. And so she's like, but yes, it feels good, but I'm also like, I want to do it. And the comments were really mixed, where some people were like, well, yeah, you're seeking validation, but what's the big deal? Because you're doing something good as a result. Everyone should have a friend like you. And other people were saying, but then if you didn't do it because you weren't seeking validation, then you're not getting the joy from it. You're not giving the joy from it, all because your boyfriend has this weird thing about compliments. Like, it was just such a bizarre, scenario that her boyfriend would make her feel so guilty for doing something good.
Well, he's a shithead, basically.
Yeah, he is. He is the shithead. He gave her such a hard time.
He's basically taking a philosophical discussion and a psychological discussion about the nature of altruism and the function of altruism in our society, and how there's no chance of doing a truly altruistic action just because of the way the human psychology is. But he's butchering the argument just to make his partner feel bad. And that is pathetic.
And it worked, because then she goes on to Reddit to be like, am I in the wrong here? And
no, she's
fortunately not. The majority of the comments were like, no.
Yeah, no, he's a cunt.
You're doing a good thing, especially for the friend whose father or mother just passed away. It's like, that's a pretty normal thing.
Yeah,
and he just twisted it to make her feel bad about herself.
Yeah, like he's twisting something where somebody's father's died and he's using that to score relationship points in an argument with his partner to belittle her. Like that
Yeah, but
is that's
even if they
sinful.
had, I think she makes like if they had friends, if he had friends over and she was
Mm.
making dinner, she would invite them to stay.
Yeah,
And he thought that she was just doing that for the compliments. It's like, well, your friends are here around dinner time, so like it would be rude not to.
it's called hospitality, you fucking
Yeah,
cunt.
like she just needs to get rid of them. She just needs to
Yeah,
get rid of them. But
she's
that's what comes back to this comic is that like someone will always want to shit on something. Right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
you just people will just don't let you have nice things, right? Like as soon as
yeah,
you say something, even if it's banal and benign and like
mm,
lighthearted, people
mm.
will still piss all over it.
Yeah, yeah. They really fucking will. Um, because the thing is like you've got this is one of the things that's really hard getting across to people is that you should assume goodness in people while also keeping your head on a swivel and making sure you're not going to get fucked over. And
Mhm.
but people like they conflate all those ideas with things like this where that bloke's assuming his own partner has bad intentions when
Yeah,
he should be, if you're a supportive partner, you should be trying to get the best out of them, not putting them down.
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
this just he's not someone who's ready to be in a relationship.
no, because like if you
And
don't if god
no, no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, if you don't agree with the actual act that she's doing, then try and help her come up with a better thing to do that would be more useful for that family if they need support.
But and it's also like she enjoys cooking, so she's doing
Yeah,
something she enjoys. Other people clearly enjoy eating the food.
yeah,
So where's the
yeah,
problem, right?
exactly.
like even if she was doing it to get the compliments,
Mm,
everyone's still benefiting from it.
yeah, and like
And
the
like it's not hurting anybody. She's not
mm,
going out and like, being braggadocious about it. She's
no,
just sharing something she enjoys with people
to
that
get them to feel
appreciate
joy
that.
too.
Yeah. Like, and it's, I guess I have a, in my family, food is love, right? Like you
Mm,
cook for people that you love, you share,
yeah,
um, you know, you can, I don't know how to say it any other way. You just share love in that way. So like
yeah,
she sounds like the same,
yeah,
that she wants to show that she cares by feeding the people in her life. And then her
mm.
boyfriend is just like, nah, you're just doing it for compliments.
And the other thing is like he's just completely just shitting on how human psychology works. Is that she's good at something, so that gets reinforced. She also like she wants to use her skills and her strengths in a way to make other people feel better, but because she's good at it, she will get compliments for it too, which will further solidify that behavior and make her want to do it more because the compliments feel good. They gave you a dopamine hit. Like that's
And like
pretty normal.
she actually wanted to be a chef, but then
Yeah,
went on a different path. But like his whole logic is ridiculous. Like, do you go to work because you enjoy doing a good job or because you're getting paid? Because like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
like there's always a reciprocal nature to most things. So the
exactly.
fact that he can't see it or that he wants to like make her feel bad for that is
It
just awful.
in psychology we call it a false dichotomy when we come across these things, so that people have created them as two separate things and where there's a divide between them, but the divide is fabricated in a philosophical way. Like you said, it's reciprocal. The relationship between doing good acts and feeling good about doing those good acts, that's a reciprocal relationship that encourages us as human beings to do those good acts. Just for example, the reason why humans procreate and why cats hunt is because we get dopamine hits from those things. We enjoy them, because if we didn't enjoy them, our species would go extinct, because humans and cats are lazy.
And that and that's also a good point that like if she wasn't getting any compliments from it, she
Hmm,
may feel like, oh, it's not appreciated, it's maybe not that good. So then
yeah,
something that she really enjoys doing, she'll lose that enjoyment of. And I wonder
exactly.
how he would feel if it was somebody else's girlfriend, right? Like if
Yeah.
it was a friend of his who had a girlfriend who liked cooking, would he
Hmm,
be like, oh, I'm not going to eat your girlfriend's food because she just wants compliments? Or would he
yeah.
be like, yeah, I'm going to eat, this is going to be good?
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to eat this fucking amazing food because she spent her life cooking and developing those skills in it.
Yeah. I almost feel like he's just finding a way
Mm,
to either control his girlfriend or put her in her place, or to make her feel less than. That's just the one thing he can find that will get her where it hurts.
Yeah, I think it's out of all of the things that it could be, I think that the two primary mechanisms I think that are happening is first of all, he probably had quite a shitty childhood where he might have been constantly belittled. That's one possibility. And the other possibility is that, he's a controlling, abusive person and he's just trying to shit on his wife. And both could be true at the same time. And so it could be that he's learnt this as a mechanism of controlling people that you want to have in your life. And it's a way to keep them in check so they don't leave you.
Yeah, you make them feel small so that you feel big.
Yeah, because if she's... Yeah, go on.
In the comic, right? Like, it's also like the two bystanders have no idea what's going on in those people's lives, right? Like, they're both on the donkey. They don't know how strong that donkey is. When the husband's on the donkey and the wife's walking, maybe he's got mobility issues and she's the more spry of the two. So, and then the reverse could be true when she's the one on the donkey. So, like, everyone just sees it with their own lens, which is often not the correct lens to look at something.
Maybe they take it in turns.
Yeah. Absolutely. Maybe it's like you get 10 minutes on the donkey, I get 10 minutes on the donkey.
Yeah.
Let's give the donkey a break.
Exactly. That's exactly what I would do.
It's like, I think I may have told you this before. There's this old, I don't know, story of this woman who's sitting on the border of a town. This old woman sitting on the border of a town. This guy walks up and he says, "What are people like in the next town?" And she's like, what were they like where you came from? "Oh, they were amazing. They were generous. They were kind. They were friendly." She's like, "Yep, you're going to find that in the next town." And then a little while later, another guy comes by. "What are people like in the next town? What were they like where you came from?" "They were terrible. They were backstabbers. They were manipulators." And she's like, "Yep, you're going to find that in the next town too." Because what you put out is what you're going to get back.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we should do a good job of that.
We should probably rename the segment "People Are Cunts."
Yeah.
Okay, so this woman had shown 2 text messages from her mechanic. So the first time she was at the mechanic by herself, and when the mechanic texted her to tell her that her car was ready, he texted, "Hello, gorgeous. Your vehicle is ready for you when you are ready." The next time she took her car in, her husband was with her, same mechanic, and telling her that her car was ready. "Thank you for supporting blah, blah, blah car wash. Your vehicle is now ready for collection."
Wow. That's... Why would you speak to a customer like that?
This is one of the things that, like, I see a lot on social media, that it's like some men think every interaction they have with a woman is an opening for romance or to be picked up, right? Like, there was I think there was I just saw one where this Hulu customer service representative went into a woman's file, got her phone number, started calling her personally to try to ask her out on a date. She's like, no, this is a business exchange. This is not Tinder. So this guy's the same. Like, he's trying to use this as an opportunity to pick her up in the hopes that she'll respond like, "Oh, hey, handsome. Yeah, I'm thinking like her." When, like, just do your job, man.
Yeah.
Be professional. Do your job.
And I wonder, like, what life is like for those guys, because they must constantly walk around with the boner, because, like, attractive women are everywhere. You can't get away from them. Like, what must their brains be like? How do they ever get any work done?
But it's I don't even understand it's not really looking at women as whole people, but just as props.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you saw them as whole, real people, you wouldn't assume that every single woman you encounter that you are attracted to is someone to be picked up or hit on.
Yeah, I saw, like, there's somebody I follow on TikTok, and she's either an anthropologist or a psychologist. She's a PhD student based in Germany, but she talks about authoritarianism and power, and she talks a lot about China. Anyway, and there was something she was offering, like a competition of some kind. If people sent in ideas for something, I don't know what the competition was, but this bloke wrote in, like, "Why don't you offer a date or something?" And then she was like,
"What?"
Yeah. She was like, "No, I'll find it again and I'll send you the screenshot." And I think I'll have to put
so gross.
Yeah, it really was.
So gross.
And then he was like, oh, well, instead of just dismissing me, why don't you give me a chance? After she retorted to him. And then so I just replied like, dude, women don't need to give us a chance if we make them feel uncomfortable. Like, just...
And she's not up for grabs. This isn't
Yeah.
the happy menu at McDonald's, right? Like, not
Yeah.
every woman is there
Yeah.
at your disposal. Like, that mindset is so dangerous.
Yeah.
That, like, men think every woman out there, it's like they expect women to be lined up in the produce department at a grocery store for the picking.
Yeah.
Like, it's not for you, man.
Exactly.
For you. And she's trying to do something
Hmm.
academic, legitimate, professional, and you're like, oh yeah, you should just whore yourself out for it because then you'll get more responses. Like, what the fuck?
I know. And I think what frustrates me is she is a really good academic as well. Like, her videos are top notch. She really does the right amount of detail combined with the brevity for the videos. She's clearly a very clever person. And then she has to deal with idiots like that. And it's just like, dude, why do you feel the need to say the thought? Like, you know.
And then double down on it by saying, give me a chance. Like, you've already come out as gross.
Yeah, yeah.
What about that makes you think that's going to be appealing?
Exactly, right. Fuck me. Like,
the guys who catcall women. Like, do you really think yelling nice tits at a woman is going to have her turn around and be like, "Oh my god, thank you"?
Oh, I never thought. I didn't notice.
Oh my god, it's so brave of you to yell that out in front of everybody on the streets, and then everybody's turning and looking at my tits. It's amazing how bold you are and creative in your decisions to compliment.
Like we were talking a while ago, just about how low the bar is, because we were joking about like that date I'd had, and they were taking the piss out of it afterwards. That like the bar is so fucking low, I just turn up, and then that's it. I've already outperformed the other blokes, and like it's so like, dude, I'm a fucking shambolic human being and a drug addict with a criminal record. And then I've already outperformed like 95% of you cunts.
Could you please put that on a t-shirt? Oh my gosh. Well, it's like that video we saw. This guy just bought this woman a meal and then was like, let me walk you to your room. No. Pay for your own meal then. Okay.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, like, because blokes like that put other blokes on the spot, like vicariously, if that makes sense. Like, because of their shitty actions, it means then that women are then primed to take our intentions every other way.
It's like when you get bit by a dog, you are wary around all dogs. Even if someone says this dog is friendly, like, well, I'll judge that for myself, right? Like, they're ruining it for everybody else. But also, it's that same kind of asshole who would then shit a woman for having a body count.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they all want it both ways, right? They want a woman who's got no body count but fucks like a porn star. So, like, you can't... It's not how it works.
Yeah. And it's like, there was a comedian, like, I think he summed up threesomes just perfectly. He said, oh yeah, I love having threesomes. I get to disappoint two women at the same time. And like, because all of this stuff that men see out there is they think it will be amazing. And it honestly, I can tell you guys, it fucking isn't. Yeah, so the same behavior that caused me to get friend-zoned by women I was attracted to is the same behavior that causes women I'm not attracted to want to date me. Just a realization I had. I don't do this anymore. This isn't me speaking, by the way. This is the bloke who wrote this. I don't do this anymore, but in my younger days, I do all the classic shit. Listen to their problems, listen to their bitching, taking an interest in their lives, offer advice. Oh, that's probably where you went wrong. Hang out with them, have long, dumb conversations, both in person and through instant messaging and so on, all the beta stuff. Okay, two things inevitably happened. The girls I didn't like took an interest in me, and the girls I did like pushed me to the side to go fuck guys who made their waterfall run. You know how guys like to say the only difference between whether or not you're a creep is how good looking you are? This feels somewhat similar. It's nothing like that. Discuss, refute, rebuttal. Let's hear some input.
So this guy is complaining about being friend zoned while also simultaneously saying that he's friend zoning other women.
Yeah.
Right. Like all the beta stuff he's referring to is what normal people call friendship. Having conversations, taking an interest in their lives, listening to their problems, offering advice, hanging out. That's what friends do. So if it's a woman he's attracted to, he's only doing that to get into her pants. And if it's a woman he's not attracted to, I don't even know why he's bothering. Like, it doesn't sound like he wants to have any female friends. So I don't even know why he's doing that. But the fact that he's not getting it, right? Like that he's put it all out there in 3 paragraphs and he's still not
He still doesn't understand
that friendship is friendship and romantic interest is romantic interest. And just because you pretend to be someone's friend doesn't mean you're going to get their quote waterfall running.
That's so gross.
That's so gross.
Oh man, it makes me think he's never experienced actual intimacy with a woman.
No, and like when he says there, the only difference between whether or not you're a creep is how good looking you are. But women I'm attracted to versus women I'm not attracted to. So it's the exact same thing. Like it's the exact same. I'm almost wondering if it's written by a woman to get men to be like, oh yeah,
to out
we
themselves.
Are stupid.
Yeah.
We are stupid.
And also, it's a lie as well. Like, the only difference between whether or not you're a creep is how good looking you are. It's not. It's not that at all.
No.
It's just that if you've got 2 men who are equally incompetent, the good looking one will get more of a pass for it than the non-good looking one. But they think that, like, so they're both exhibiting creepy behavior. But then the blokes think, oh, well, they're just accepting the flirtation from the good-looking guy, not the creepy guy, the ugly guy, and they think the other guy's a creep. And it's like, no, both of the blokes have no game and they're both idiots, but humans are naturally predisposed to liking attractive things.
Pretty privilege.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's literally nothing to do with the women. Like, both guys
but
are
I also think
weird.
a lot of these men don't recognize their own creep factor, right? Like you could have it's all they're seeing is women with good looking men and they're assuming that the personality is equal and the only difference between them is the appearance. And that is like all things being equal, maybe that's correct. But the likelihood of that good looking guy and the not good looking guy having the exact same personality, the exact same experience, the exact same conversational skills, the exact same sense of humor, like all of those things, that there's more to a person than just attractiveness. And that's what they're not getting, right? Like this guy has women who like him because he's doing the things that friends do. And perhaps some of the women don't get that from men, which they're mistaking it for romantic interest, or the other women have been accustomed to having male friends, so they're seeing it for what it is. But like, there's just so much more to this that to just chalk it all up to, no, it can't be anything about my personality because then I'm accountable for that. It's got to be my looks because that I had no part of. Like, it's just such a cheap and easy way out.
Yeah.
And one that takes zero responsibility for your own self and your own betterment of yourself, who you are as a person.
Yeah. And they also seem to just completely ignore the fact that just like men, women have a journey and a trajectory to follow through their lives too. And they have things that they're working on developing, things that they're growing up into, and people age and mature at different rates. Women tend to do it quicker than men, but it doesn't mean that they're not doing it at different rates. And all the women he's talking about, like, I mean, let's face it, probably isn't actually any really, maybe a couple, but like there might be different ages, different life experience.
I would bet money on the fact that this guy doesn't perform all those activities, right? Listen to their problems, listening to that. I bet he doesn't do any of that with women he doesn't find attractive.
Yeah. It's like those guys
he's not going into these relationships with women for anything other than a physical relationship. So maybe these are friends of the girl he's trying to woo, but he doesn't have female friends.
Yeah, and like the women that turn him down, like either they're just not attracted to him, they just don't get the vibe, or they might see what he's after and they're not after the same thing. So by being astute observers of human behavior and self-reflective, they've decided he's not right for me. And the women that want to be with him are ones that are at a different stage in their life. Maybe they want to fling, maybe they want to fuck about. And he's a voluntary celibate.
He's assuming that every woman,
Mm.
regardless of her appearance, has the same thought process and the same experience, right? Like he's not seeing women as individuals, he's just seeing them as different, the same person in a different mold and a different appearance. Because why, if this works on the ugly chicks, how come it's not working on the hot ones, right? He doesn't get that they're different people. And different things going on in their lives.
And that is an interesting thing, actually, like, you know, with this whole idea of like ugly people and good looking people, like the way that he's defined it is that he might be a grotesquerie. We don't know, but like men are like, they're really bad at going for people that aren't in their league range, you know, like they go for unobtainable people.
So there was, I just saw yesterday, a cheerleader or dancer for a sports team. Her boyfriend proposed to her on the, I think basketball, whatever sport it was, on the court field, insert sports reference here. So he proposed to her. She said yes. Everybody was happy. He was shooting above his weight, right? She was, and the comments were just like, he must have a ton of money, and like, yeah, the comments were super shitty. But he rolled with it. He was like, yeah, I get that she's out of my league. Yeah, I know, but like, but she's still like, she's not a shallow piece of shit like you.
Yeah. But just because he's found a good one, like.
Yeah, but he's like, the fact that he thinks friendship is the beta stuff, like that says it all, right? That's why the women that you're attracted to aren't attracted to you, because they're seeing through all your shit.
Yeah.
And because what you're probably saying to them in all those text messages, you're not talking to them in the same way you're talking to women you're not attracted to. You're throwing in stupid shit like cutie pie and sweetie and like, I'll do this and I'll take it. Like the conversations are not the same, right? It's like the last example of hello gorgeous, your vehicle is ready versus thank you for supporting the car wash, right? Like you're talking to those women in a different way. So you're probably talking to the women you're not attracted to like a real friend, and you're talking to the women you are attracted to with that thought process. So you're being unintentionally creepy. Yeah,
exactly. And people, like, even if they might not consciously be aware of it, most people can pick up on people being disingenuous.
Yeah, and there's just like, there's a subreddit called Tinder, right? And like guys will post up, guys and girls, women and men will both post up like screenshots of like, this is the conversation, what do I say next, which is drives me crazy. Or where did I go wrong? And this one guy in the first 3 messages called her cutie pie, sweetie, and then invited her to his house. He's like, where did I go wrong? It's like, what? You don't know her and you're calling a grown woman cutie pie, which is gross. You don't know her and you're calling a grown woman sweetie, which is gross. You've never met her and you're inviting her to your house after calling her cutie pie and sweetie. The trifecta of gross. And he's like, where did I go wrong?
I had a colleague, and she was trying to organize like a small conference kind of thing. And then she was invited a guy from Australia to come over and speak. And like, he wasn't being creepy or anything. It's just the way that I guess like a man might perceive something so differently to a woman, because men and women have different concerns vastly. And he was just talking about crashing and staying at her place and stuff, bearing in mind like she's quite a high level academic. You know, it would be like writing to an executive manager at your work and go, I'll just crash at your place then. Like, yeah. And he was like probably a mid-career academic sort of thing. Like higher than I am, but was like, you know, he was established, and he was acting very juvenile about it. And she was really confused by the whole thing. She was like, is he hitting on me? Is he being weird? Why does he want to stay at my place? And she just couldn't figure it out. And
why does he think that's appropriate to stay, like, get a hotel room, man? Like,
exactly.
You're staying in my house. This isn't a frat party. Like,
yeah.
Fuck is wrong with people?
I know.